let's learn about the Dynatrace MCP Server. Did you know that you can interact with Dynatrace using natural language via the Dynatrace MCP Server? My name is Adriana Villela, and I'm going to show you how. The Dynatrace MCP Server can be run either locally or remotely, and today I'm going to show you how to run it locally using GitHub Copilot and Visual Studio Code. Number 1, the Dynatrace MCP Server runs locally on your machine using npx, which means that you'll need to have Node.js installed on your machine. Now, on my setup here, I'm running everything in a dev container, which means that I have all the tools that I need already in my environment. For your convenience, I do have a link to a GitHub repo that you can use to spin up your own dev container, and I'll include a link to that in the video. If we look at mcp.json over here, you will see that the type is standard IO, which means that we are running it locally, and the command is npx, which I mentioned earlier. And then finally over here, we have our arguments, and this includes here the executable and then the version of the Dynatrace MCP server. You'll also need to have the GitHub Copilot extension installed and enabled in VS Code. And to check to make sure that ours is up and running, all you have to do is go down here to this little chat icon on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And in my case, you can see that my GitHub Copilot is installed and enabled. And I'll include a link at the end of this video so that you can set it up for yourself as well. Finally, you'll need 2 environment variables set up and configured to be able to authenticate against Dynatrace. If we look at our mcp.json, there is this env file property over here. It points to a file called .env on my system. This is an env file template. I've git ignored the env file itself, but you can see these are the 2 environment variables that you need. One is DT_environment, which is basically your Dynatrace environment URL, which includes your tenant id.apps.dynatrace.com, as we can see over here. And then finally, we have the DT_platform_token. And just so you know that there are 2 other ways to authenticate against Dynatrace, and I'll include links on how to do that for all 3 methods. Now, before we can start querying Dynatrace using the Dynatrace MCP server, we need to do one more thing. We need to start up the Dynatrace MCP server, and we do this by going to our mcp.json over here and hover over where it says start. So let's click here. And you see that it is running, and it shows the number of tools that are available. Now, just to make sure that everything is good, let us click on more and go to show output. And if we scroll over here, it shows that we've started up the Dynatrace MCP server, which is a great sign. Now we're finally ready to start running our prompts. And for your convenience, I've gone ahead and created some reusable prompts that we can try out. These prompts are located in the .github/prompts folder. And the thing that's special about these files is that they have this .prompt.md extension. And they also have a very particular format. So the first element here is agent, and there are different options, but here our mode is agent. And basically it means that we're saying, hey, GitHub Copilot, you can execute things on my behalf. The model chosen is GPT-4o, but feel free to choose your favorite large language model. And then these are the tools that are available in this prompt to be run. So these are basically the MCP servers that are applicable to this prompt. So we have run commands, and this is a built-in, shall we say, MCP server, which allows GitHub Copilot to execute things in the command line. And then the other one here looks familiar. This is our Dynatrace MCP server. And then down here is the actual prompt. And the prompt that we're going to run today is a prompt that basically lists the total number of AstroShop services, and it lists their names. Now, to run this, all we have to do is go over here to our chat window. We type in /, and so this lists a bunch of basically canned prompts, and the ones specifically that we have created over here, you can see they show up because they are in that folder, the .github/prompts, and have the .prompt.md extension. So let's run this first prompt here that we are looking at. And here we go. Very cool. So not only is our output showing the total number of services like we requested, we also requested the AstroShop services. So it's listing all of them over here, which is awesome. Now, like I said, there are 4 other prompts here in this directory. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do encourage you to check them out and play around with them. The final thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is this here. It's copilot-instructions.md. And basically, this is an instructions file used by GitHub Copilot, and it provides project level instructions. So think of it as additional context, additional guidance. It's something that you don't want to repeat in each of your prompts. That's the type of thing that you would put in your instructions file. And it takes markdown format, just like your prompts would take on as well. And there you have it. Hope you learned something new today. I do encourage you to fork this GitHub repo and try out the prompts for yourselves. Please feel free to improve on the prompts. Please feel free to add new prompts by submitting a pull request. I'd love to see what you come up with. And until next time.